Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We're back in the place to be. Off-brand pepper, what's up? It's fascinating. Getting some stellar tests out of that. Mostly done off of that, but can you explain what we're starting today? I don't know actually, to be honest. I started going live before I had any plans for tests. Everything that I want to do, I mean, I do have another solar series time machine lab. I think you got to upgrade it with iron. Wow. We will likely get to iron, steel, and some other things. But right now, yeah, we're definitely in copper. Let's check something. What? They told me yesterday, but I gotta make sure. What element is copper? Incorporating the screen's 19th dimension in there. But yeah, we have yet another one, so I was able to make another one. This one's even... Okay, so it is indeed 29. Cuprum, high electrical and thermal conductivity, soft and malleable structure, and a distinct reddish orange metallic luster. It is actually interesting how malleable copper is as a metal. You know, if this was steel or anything like that, I would not be able to just bend it like that. Not at all. I see what you're doing actually. Oh, well, thank you so much for waiting. I'm glad that you're catching some of the vibes. I always think some of what I'm doing isn't that weird. Ava, already with the roses and the goats, I appreciate you so much. 12 plus 12 plus 13 plus 13. Wow. Ava's starting the live off with the bang. Thank you guys already. What did bro say? Copper is great for energy dispersion. Glad to see it in use. Oh, yeah. Energy dispersion. Exactly, really. That's exactly what copper is. That's a perfect explanation. Copper is great for energy dispersion. So, I mean, everything we're getting right now on the Copper Lab is pure data. Pure data. This one, I let some gold paint dry on it overnight just to see what that would do, how that would encode overnight. Let's go ahead and remove that now. Oh, even comes off the electrical tape pretty simply. Wanted to see, really stimulate to see what type of entropy we're going to be dealing with here. We're witnessing history being made. I mean, well, one, technically we always are, you know what I mean? But yeah, definitely. I guess not everything counts as recorded history. I almost don't want to take that off. Let's put that back on. I don't know if that's going to work. Just sliding it back on. Anyway, get it back on directly. A glow stick. Interesting device. Amazing. Something will happen eventually. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Use a time machine ring. Oh, I got a time machine ring on as we speak. You can see the entropy doing its thing gradually. Encoding more data. temporal awareness, more experience. This, I'm not really sure what that was about. It was kind of a way of stimulating the 19th dimension as well, which I think that the 19th dimension is correlated to screens. Which we might get, let's see, let's just ask AI, what's the science on screens? Let's just get some blanket data in here while we're working. I can turn down that brightness so it's actually visible to you. Let's see. Scientific research on screens is nuanced, really. Modern consensus from neuroscience, psychology, and sleep research. Oh, this is about how screens are bad for the brain, but there may be some data in there as well. Screens aren't inherently brain poison, but their impacts depend heavily on timing, content type, and what the screen time displaces. That's cool, but a little bit too psychological for me. So let's say I mean the technology. Anyway, let's see what that pulls up. So Super Looney got it. Okay, good. Hey Kenya, how's the hoverboard belt looking right now? Still good. I haven't done any further tests on it. This is really just one. What is it? The THRAs are just one aspect of the. This is just going to be attached to the hover belt. Other than that, I haven't really done any work on the hover belt at all. Though maybe we could get a little bit of work done on a hover suit concept. Let's see. Let's see what we got from the screens. Got it. Shifting from the biological side to the actual engineering at its core, display technology relies on three fundamental scientific optics. Okay, whatever. I mean, not whatever, but let's say that's three-dimensional material science, okay? Semiconductors, liquid crystals, and electrophysics. Controlling electric fields at microscopic scales. Okay. Anyway, back to the hoverboard for a second. Really getting into, so this right here, this application, oh wow. Seems the slime also may have dissolved the glue holding the hover harness together. Let's see if it did it to the front and back. No, didn't do it though. But that means that we can't put the new GCPRs in until we reattach a harness holder, which is fine because I kind of want to redo the GCPRs in general. So that opportunity has become a guarantee. You know, technically, now that I'm working with metal, I consider myself a blacksmith. Sort of consider myself a blacksmith. What is the goal for this hoverboard? Enigma. Oh yes, the purest of data. Enigma. Whatever makes me happy. That's not necessarily true, though I suppose to a degree. That is one of the major indicators of the directions I will be taking, as I am at liberty to do as I will. But anyway, my machine is built. Ooh, I'd love to see it. I love to see it. I've been seeing more of people's tests because I've taken the liberty of searching for myself on TikTok, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I love what everyone's doing. Even the people who don't get it, some super funny people. Anyway, a little more gold. You might not be wrong with that. We'll actually give that a shot today. See what sort of encoding we're able to achieve. That. Someone said psychosis. If I had psychosis, would I have a time machine ring that's literally encoding all of the data of my actions into the future? Tell me that. Tell me. And past, actually. So, really thinking about the future and the past as spatially accessible is also part of what a time machine is about, because the future and the past are not in some sort of unreachable location. Now, the consciousness of the human beings who live in those realms may be, if they're not currently alive, inaccessible, but that's the only thing that's inaccessible. But I think as human beings, being that consciousness is so important to us, that's a lot of what we're trying to get into. Like, I want to go back and talk to Abraham Lincoln. The thing is, Abraham Lincoln's not in the past. He's not in reality as we know it, as far as we can access him at all anymore. You know what I mean? So, as far as we know, some people think they can access non-living people, but I think they're mostly making it up. Just because any data gotten from that would be so useful. I don't think it would be something that were able to keep secret for very long. The gold is sort of leaking over the edge, but I'm going to allow it. Perfection, as I always say, is for the weak. We're not here to do something perfect. We're here to make some progress. I really like this. This could actually be an invention in and of itself. So anyway, back to what I was talking about. Oh yeah, we're making great progress. Back to what I was talking about. So really, the past and the future are spatially accessible. And that's the first step to really understanding what time travel is about in that case. So where is, let's say, April 12th, 1959? Where is it? That's a really interesting question. And it gets into just how we think about time. Right? Because it's like, okay, well, you mean when is, right? Because dates are not anywhere, but I know I was talking about them being spatial. But still, we have to talk about them as whens instead of where, because of the nature of the fourth dimension, which is that the fourth dimension is not describing places. It's describing the contents of any place, right? So when, let's say, and then we give a date, April, whatever we just said, 12th, 1959, what was going on? What was the actual arrangement of atoms? And if we want to hyper it down to a location, you can do when and where. Really, the where is usually implied in some sort of aspect. Let's get this out of the way. But the when, this is going to be great to see that encoded. Really trying to make some progress on the hover suit a little bit. We'll see how that leans into the core array and see what sort of effects that has. Let's just do some tests with it. I find running tests just accelerates the data. And like someone else said before, copper is great at energy chance of something going down. No, I was going to pull out some other stuff, but this is actually going to be a great medium. I'll start with this. Let's go slow, see what our grip changes like. I'm really feeling this out now, so it's not something you would necessarily see. I might get stuck. Okay. Just the quasi-dimensional gold to have some effect as well. Let's go ahead and move the time machine ring. Allow it to encode more of the data facing the camera. Okay. Wow. I mean, yeah, in a lot of ways that's spot on. Careful with the data. Pro WTF, wow. I mean, yeah, it's going really well. It's fascinating. So, of course, I did get those shoes. I've decided against S as the shoe brand for the hover boots. So I do need to elect a new shoe brand, and then I need to elect a different item, a different brand, a different company for each item of the hover suit. Amazing data. Amazing data. Oh my gosh. Absolutely stunning data. Absolutely stunning data. So that's going to be interesting. I'm not sure what the best items would be. Can't tell. Can't tell. Can't tell. But we'll continue to test. We will continue to test. I think it's time to add more flux to the quantum lattice. Well, I mean, that's something that's definitely going to end up happening at some point, but I don't know exactly when. Damien Marquez, have you checked the Tarbinator? I have not. Have you considered adding magnets, positive ones to the board and negative to the copper? Copper isn't specifically magnetic, though. I have much to study, even with magnetism. Now that I think about it, what would you do with the time machine? Well, see, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm using it for research. So I think it's like once you understand, it's not bad at all. The potential of a time machine. Okay, we were getting back to, what time is. So understand that time is the when of the where. So you're adding a new dimension. Where has all three dimensions in it. Longitude, latitude, and altitude. going to be interesting. I'm already getting some basic ideas about how the suit might need to extend a little bit more. I'm going to test something. So, the when is encoding what data? What does when mean in the fourth dimension? What is that when? The when is simply... Oh, thank you so much. I'll let that go. Stay a little loud. The when is simply going to be what the arrangement of the atoms were in that fourth dimensional location that you're talking about, which is the date, right? Though dates encode a lot more data than we would traditionally think about, right? Because if you say April 4th, 1976, what's going to be, I don't know why I said 1970. Anyway, what's going to be encoded in that data is also a specific frame of reference, usually, where it's just like, okay, but what are we talking about? You already know what you're talking about when you say a date. You know, you're talking about that date in your life. Where were you at that time? That date, anyway. So, so what we're all looking for isn't even what we're trying to do as humans. It's not the past or the future that I'm trying to obtain. I'm trying to obtain a specific when. And that when is, when I finished something, or whatever it is that I'm working on, which isn't natural even to the timeline. These studies are really out there. They're really, 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 really out there. But you have to, it's tough. Even for us to think fully in fourth dimensions requires quite a bit of work. You just playing with garbage. I mean, that's such a fascinating concept. Because I agree, but at the same time, it would mean that everybody is always playing with garbage. If we're just talking about the fact that it's going to be thrown away one day, or that it could be thrown away. And what is play? Play is really the best definition for anything from a six-dimensional perspective, which is just that play is the constraint, you could almost say, of energy. So, I mean, this would almost be a little bit hyperplay, to be honest, especially now that we're in the copper time machine. Having the ability to disperse and direct energy more specifically. Right now, I mean, I wish I could kind of break down what I'm saying. Sometimes it's easier for me to just work and not really talk about what I'm doing because the science is at such a scale where success is the only measure. Really hoping to get a breakthrough on the, that's interesting, on the hover suit itself. There's something I need on it. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm almost grasping a piece of it right now, I feel like. It's actually bringing back some concepts of the 19th dimension. Who said 19th? 19th dimension. Oh, yeah. So the screens are my hypothesis of the 19th dimension. So I'm actually thinking I need to incorporate the screens a little bit more. I did it a little bit a few lives ago, but I'm just like, I think it needs to be a more consistent concept. Right now, the clear slime is sort of standing in for the magnetic field. And one thing that it's giving me an idea for is just that full sync with the suit and the board, and realizing how it's better to have a larger surface area sync. SYNC, not SINK, sync versus a more limited shoe only sync. So that's going to be interesting. Of course, the copper might help with that. Let's do a quick test. I was gonna use S shoes for the hover boots, but I'm thinking against it. Give me a full list of brands to serve as the base model for the hover suit, belt, and glasses included. I don't think it would naturally give me a belt brand, but that also might give it enough context to realize that I want it, that I want individual specific clothing items. AI psychosis. AI psychosis is not real. I know a lot of you guys are. One of the most detrimental things in society is mob mentality. And a lot of people are stuck, to be honest, just thinking along the lines of pop culture trends. Trust me, if anyone has said anything that you're thinking, then you're mostly wasting your time. The only thing to do after that is to acknowledge that they said it first and give them whatever credit is due, and then to take action. So if there's something you need to change it. You don't need to keep repeating what everyone repeats over and over and over again. It's just an active decision to not think. Anyway, all these other things are tools. Tools, data, all that stuff, it's just in your head. It serves only one purpose, for you to take action. If it's not leading to action, you're getting stuck. Anyway, what are we making? Right now, I'm really attempting to. I think maybe the hover suit might be 20th dimensional, ladies and gentlemen, which is fascinating. I know we've been working, and this is going to trip you guys out, because this is why we've been dabbling in the 13th dimension, dabbling in the 14th dimension, dabbling in the 18th, 19th dimension. It's because these are all components. And thank you for the instantly successful. These are all components of what we're going to need for the hover suit. Think about what a hover suit is. You know, it is your mechanism of teleportation, because you don't want to feel the physical effects of the travel on the hoverboard. And then think about recycling. Recycling is going to be a fundamental. Thank you so much for that song. Recycling is going to be a fundamental aspect of you being in your hover suit. You know, let's say you're in freaking Guatemala. I don't know anything about Guatemala. The Sahara Desert. And all you have with you, interesting. So this sheet has fully eroded. All you have with you, let's say, is the water bottle. Brought with you. Let me open this song. So fascinating. So fascinating. Right now we're encoding the 20th dimension into the board just to get some basic testing ideas. Interesting how the gold infusion is almost gone. Anyway, so your board is going to have to be, your suit is going to have to be a recycler as well. Even if it's just on the most tertiary levels, even the conversion of garbage into portable garbage is a prerequisite to recycling. And again, transportation itself, ladies and gentlemen, to me is inherently fourth dimensional. Even though it seems third dimensional, but it's really an internal fourth dimension. The distinction of bodies and parallel translations, segmented translations. So how does this work? That's what we're attempting to discover right now. Right now, I'm purely mining data of the 20th dimension to be able to understand exactly how the hover suit is going to work. In some ways, you can think about this second layer of leather as the beginning of the hover suit. And then this medium sort of temporarily is why I love slime, perfect fourth dimensional stand-in. It's like a three-dimensional representation of the number zero almost. I think about it. So anyway, except for like the opposite. But anyway, and so wow. Right now we're encoding to be able to attempt to comprehend just the basics of what inner suit stability is really going to be about. And of course, we can even test the mock rider in there a little bit. Thank you, Tommy, for the 10 roses. And let's actually get just a random attachment here. 1 second, I will be right back. Whew. Had to get some water. Okay. Where's the combobulator? This whole thing is a combobulator. Oh, wow. Does it have an engine? Ooh! Really good question. This one doesn't have a traditional engine, no. But it does have, it is going to have at least 3 hover engines. And a hover core, which is something akin to an engine. But more like a CPU, sort of, I guess. Just checking something with the writer. And some basic hover suit calculations to together. It's no simple thing to support, a tall, lanky thing on top of a small, quickly moving thing. So, and I could spend 30 years learning suit design, or I could just encode tons of data into a time machine, allow that to encode. Alright, let's see what AI gave us though on concepts for the hover suit. Hover boots. How does it know that I'm doing hover boots? Anyway, DC shoes. I probably told it. DC shoes, globe. Someone else mentioned globe to me. Osiris. Okay. Osiris's don't even exist anymore. Nike. I'm not doing Nike. DC's kind of a cool idea. Utility belt pouch to F.11 tactical. I don't know any of these brands. I don't know a lot of belt brands. Hover glasses, Oakley, Pit Viper, Pyramex, Kalenji. I know Oakley. I've never heard of the other ones, so I had to look into them. And that's it. It didn't give me anything for pants, shirts, jacket. I know for sure there's going to be hover pants. There's going to be a hover jacket. I don't know if there's going to be a hover shirt, if that's necessary. Are there magnets? Not in this setup. Right now I'm just encoding FUBU. Come on. Daniel, what's up? I'm encoding hoversuit data, 20th dimensional hoversuit data. Interesting. Need to get as much data in as I can, really. Okay. Let's go ahead and remove this apparatus. Last of our independent copper, mind you. Let's get the writer out of there. Interesting, don't forget, Mr. WTF. Exactly. Thanks for 18K likes, you guys. And Hoverheads, shout out to you guys, by the way. I know how it seems like I'm just endlessly grinding every day, but I do appreciate you guys. I didn't do a big enough hoopla for the 100,000 followers, but that was a really big deal. I just posted it in the Hoverheads announcement group here on TikTok. That is a really big deal. I appreciate you guys. Make a hover car. I started on the hover car, actually. I've done a few tests, but I do need to get back to that. Because sometimes a test like that will really boost you into some further concepts. Time machine. Oh yeah. Several time machines here. And we have our latest one, so I mean we're moving at all times. Speeds. Thank you for the army, bro. Josh. Thank you. Appreciate you. KJ. Amazing. Tell me about it. So, I mean, the hoversuit is endlessly complicated. That's why I'm just encoding data nonstop right now in the time machine to see what we're going to end up with. Because that's really one of the next pieces. I already know I'm going to get started on the full size. There's going to be some interesting things that allow for that to go down, but okay. A lot of the... Well, that can't be what's doing it. Somehow the board itself is working a lot better. What's causing that super frictionless right there? Is it just me? I don't remember it working that well. You know, maybe because of where it's at. Okay. That was making my life a little harder because I had it up here. There's a ridge there, so that was actually increasing the height a little bit more. So unbeknownst to me, we're actually getting even better testing data. Because at that point, we're almost hitting, we're hitting up here, near the top of the board. That's good. I almost want to boost it up. Let's see, what are we going to do? Because that's another scenario that we need to discuss. Which is partly what the retractors are for, because they allow us to, dismount from the board, jump with the board. Oh, wow. That was amazing. I didn't expect to get mechanical lift at that stage. Jeez. It's going in and out blurry. I don't even know how it's doing that. It should be above. Let me see. Somehow gaining lift. Look at that. I'm just pushing it straight. I'm literally just pushing straight. I can understand how it might be hard to trust that I'm not simply just lifting it. Well, from video, though, I understand the skepticism, but that's fascinating. That performed a lot better, but my point was to actually get a failure, not to successfully push it over. So let's say something like this. Let's say you are, riding your board and you meet a dead-on wall. What is best practices in the hover universe for getting over something like that? Again, that's what the THRAs, the Titan Hover Retractor attachment, is going to be for on the belt. That way you can just dismount, literally climb up, and then reboard. That's going to be kind of the goal there. Very, very, very fascinating though. So to see exactly how we are truly though going to obtain hover suit stability and safety. I do have some basic ideas, of course, with just getting good padding all around, but we have to think about how that's really going to play out on a structural standpoint. So we'll continue to encode toward understanding that aspect. This will just give us some dynamics. So exactly, I have to analyze this closely. So the shaking is quite violent. So good thing is, at least we're planning. I'm surprised that these slimes actually don't interact more. At least we're planning for rider safety. But I don't really see how we're achieving it. Perhaps I should re-engage the retractor system. Let's use that in the front, see if that ended up giving us any more stability. And then overall, basic concepts of raising the center of gravity. Let's get pre-structural data. This really comes down to, because it's fascinating. I think um, the hover suit may be 20th dimensional. It may be. And that's going to include the hover glasses and the HUD system, as well as, I'm not really sure. Because one thing that we're very used to when it comes to screens is, computers. Having computers being part of the screens. But this next one, the one that I'm planning on doing this year, I don't plan to have a CPU on board. Not for another at least 5 months. It's physically impossible for us to see over 3D. Sort of. Yeah, I mean, light is three-dimensional, so. But, if all the other dimensions, other dimensions aren't strictly spatial anyway, all you need would be I don't want to use the word information because I think information is fourth dimensional in itself. I think our brains are infinitely dimensional, which is why even with mathematics we can do infinitely dimensional math. For instance, 7 to the power of 35 is a 35-dimensional 7. And you can write that down and you can just look at it. So, now an ant is not going to see a 35th dimensional concept because they cannot conceive of it really. Not in that way. I think in some other ways they actually can perceive of quite a few higher dimensions, maybe even up into the thousands, or maybe even into hundreds of thousands. Now, human beings, though, I don't know about hundreds of thousands for an ant. Human beings, on the other hand, can perceive infinite dimensions without any boundaries whatsoever. And so yes, we cannot see, because seeing is really just like moving or anything like that. Though, anyway, but even seeing is at least fourth dimensional, to be honest with you. Because you need time. Light does not move instantaneously. And so, wow, okay. Getting some really fascinating concepts akin to, I had to do some research on rebar. There's a hint there. Something that we can steal. The thing about me is I'm not really trying to do that many original stuff. The most originality that I'm really putting, I think, into the game is conceptual originality, which is I'm taking the time to think about things that I think other people don't really think about. But all the materials that I'm going to use to assemble everything that I use is all going to be ubiquitous and ubiquitous use case. Like I want it to have been used similarly for that. The problem that I also have is my own barrier. The barriers to my own intellect. I don't know everything. I don't know about everything. So a time machine is a hack for myself as much as it is for any of the technology that I might be working in it so that I can make placeholders for said tech. And then when I go analyze the data and do some research, 9 times out of 10, I find, someone who's already made these pieces, just like, okay, did the research to figure out, that was useless. Did the research to figure out that I wanted to do the solar series of the time machines. Needed copper plates in these dimensions. Guess what? Google them, found out that they exist. Want to work on retractable, the THRAs, the retractable thing. Boom. Get to the store one day. Boom. Located. I'm really allowing this to be super wonky because I want to really... Human riders are way worse. And the thing about a hoverboard is I don't plan for it to be something for athletes. I plan for it to be something for regular human beings. So if a action figure is going to fall off of it, so is a human, guaranteed. So I need to know about all the different ways, which is kind of the scary part about even working in the personal transportation field. It's just that, human beings are just so fragile. And to tell them that, hey, I'm going to move you from here to here, I'm going to be responsible for your movement, it's a pretty big deal. First 0.00001% of success right there. Actually, not bad at all, considering that we're using slime, which, again, is fourth dimensional, literally morphing constantly, but it's great for data. Huh. Okay, we're getting somewhere. One thing that we don't have a plan for, you're very prone, as a writer, just from doing these tests, I've seen to fall this way or this way, right? Because you're standing this way. Of course, you can bump into stuff like that, but that's actually kind of the least of your worries. Because then at least you're moving. For a second, I thought the board was backwards. What if the fourth dimension isn't the limit? The limit of what? Absolutely phenomenal work, Professor. Thank you, good sir. Explain this, please. Right now we're working on what might be a 20th dimensional concept, the hover suit. Interesting. Mitchell, thank you so much. Can you actually explain to me what we're doing? Yeah. We're using the slime and some leather polymer pieces, as well as some copper, all ubiquitous testing materials in our workspace, to gather data, just a lot of general data about cushioning and rider support on something like a skateboard, so we can have good data for the hoversuit. I was also over here looking up, having AI compile some potential brands that we can use for the materials of the hoversuits. But right now I'm really thinking about rider stability. Thank you for the 30K likes, by the way, guys. Interesting. So when I was holding this, which put tension against the acceleration direction. Okay. Increased stability. Alright. No days off. No days off. Super fascinating. Super Super fascinating. What's the goal? Hopefully some really good work on the 20th dimensional hover suit. Not bad at all. Someone said I'm grasping it. Oh, thank you, sir. I love to have the Reds here. And really, your input, no matter what, is amazing. Even there was one guy in the beginning who said, oh, playing with garbage, it really made me think, about the concept of garbage. And I'm kind of confused. What actually is garbage? I don't actually think I have a clear way. I think this is your best yet. Oh, thank you, sir. We're definitely making progress. I don't think I have a clear understanding of what actual garbage is. I understand it as a classification for items that have gone beyond your own personal entropy limits. But other than that, I don't know if anything is inherently, without it being classified for transportation or quarantine, if anything is inherently actually garbage. It's interesting. So anyway, you learn every day, especially from those who love actual words, actual definitions. Great data, though. Great data. Today was actually fundamentally fire. Made some great acquisitions of data just from testing that so many different times. That's going to encode marvelously. I'm trying to get the lives published quicker because then I get more data analysis done at a higher speed. Let's go ahead and make sure we're using the new Solar Series time machine. Copper fully encoded. Okay. I think we stepped away a little bit too long. Let's go ahead and break this down. That was more than enough encoding of that form, that aspect of the apparatus. More than enough. Gave me some fascinating ideas. Stability is going to be really interesting. I really don't know what to do with that when it comes to the board. I can tell you right now, the wider the board, the better. But also, I don't think we're going to go much bigger than 8.5. Just because, I don't know. I said a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Hey, that's not the key to life right there. I don't know what is. If that ain't love, then I don't know what love is. Explain, please. So, a hover suit might essentially be powered by something that I'm beginning to call the television force. Which would be the resident force of the 20th dimension. In my hypothesis, that is. In the same way that gravity is the resident force of the 5th dimension. I'm trying to ignore the comments. I really don't look at them all the time. But, keep going, man, you're getting there. Yeah, thank you. Here you thought of have you thought of getting help? No, not really. You're very close. Oh man. I mean, the data and the progress are not gonna are no lie. Even these, and these aren't even completed. Truthfully, they're 1/3 completed, or maybe slightly even less, depending. But the copper is really just the base. But these are about to be huge upgrades to this space. But even if it was just based off of connecting, with the hover edge, I would already consider myself fully successful, beyond successful, beyond my wildest dreams of success. Well, maybe not my wildest dreams, but anyway, this isn't really anything. I'm just doing this. I have to pay attention to that. Though it might give me some ideas with the hover suit. Some stuff I just do. Not that often, but I'm trying to learn how to do it more and more because some of my best stuff comes from the most random directions. But anyway, I kind of got a random idea just to see what the data I get. What this would be. Fascinating. Just acquiring some data. I mean, this is the 10th dimensional hoverboard. Oh, even getting some dried substrate in there. Super fascinating. All right, let's proceed with Gemini a little bit. What about the shirt, pants, jacket, gloves, helmet, etc. Just in case I can think of some other stuff I didn't mention. Let's replace the screen. Let's see. To round out, I'm really sure that this might be part of it, so I have to include it in the test. Because screens, in my hypothesis, are only 19th dimensional. I know this is a lot, you guys, but I don't have forever, I need to get some great results this year. That's why I work in a time machine and study things from the perspective of time rather than simply approaching everything three-dimensionally, which I do not have the luxury of doing. But anyway, to round out the hover suit, this thing just say cosplay fit. Anyway, we'll allow it for now. Belt, eyewear, you need gear that balances aerodynamics, impact, protection, and utility. Straps. Interesting. Jackets, outerwear, Nike, Alpha Industries, Machine 56, Kira Katu, never heard of that. Shirt, Under Armour, Gymshark, Nike again. Pants, Riot Division, G-Star Raw, Circe Precision, Rothco. That's interesting. Never heard of most of those brands. Gloves, Oakley. Mechanics Wear, actually I think I might have one of those. Fox Racing, like the idea of Fox Racing helmet. Rock aggressive. Okay. Alright. Gave me some ideas, obviously. Nothing that I probably wouldn't have got to myself. but good data, speeding things up. Like I said, we don't have forever. So the further ahead we can get right now, the better. And we just got some great responses. So we'll move ahead with that. All right, let me read some comments. I think I'm about to end it for tonight. We got some great. 20-dimensional research done. And I'd rather end early so I can do a little bit more research before I hit the hay. The wheels need less friction. They'll have bearings on the bigger ones, so that will help. But you are correct. You are correct that the wheels definitely need better friction. Okay, you don't end the live. I'm so invested, sir. Don't worry. We're gonna be back. We're gonna be back. Timeliness is important, so that we always have time to return. That's actually really an interesting temporal concept, but lots of study. Lots of study. Core array. What about it? Why a copper base? So some strong correlations between copper and energy movement of all kinds, whether that's heat or electricity. I really have to figure out why copper is so good at moving both heat and electricity, because that doesn't really make any sense. I forgot. I was going to look that up. It really doesn't make any sense. What about having 29 protons and 29 electrons somehow makes copper so good at handling heat and electrons? I have to know. What's the goal of it? It's so weird that just changing the number of protons has such a huge effect on an atom, and then, its macro state. It's so strange. End goal, hoverboard, teleporter, hover suit seems to be the biggest thing that I'm actually working on right now, which makes sense why it's been the slowest going. Don't forget quantum regulator. Hey, what came about for you to start this? Literally just had a random idea about a hoverboard one day, right after waking up. Posted it within 30 minutes of the day starting, probably, and then it went viral. That was 6 years ago. And why I did that first one, I really can't tell you. Though I was at that time really upset with how much science-related content I was posting, and especially inventing. So I knew I wanted to try to invent more things, because I've always just had a little bit of a love for science. And is the wheel restrained by the material? Right now, probably, on this model. I didn't even really check for that. 6 years and nothing accomplished. Well, I don't know. I disagree, but I understand having that kind of perspective. But it seems kind of like a depressing way to live life, to be honest with me. So don't put yourself down like that. Dial Crush. Thank you so much for the 2-hand hearts. And I say don't put yourself down like that, because anyone who says that to other people says it to themselves all day long, over and over and over again. 1 year, no progress. 1 day, 1 hour, no progress. Just being alive, you're making progress, especially if you're happy. Opposing magnets are needed 100%. We're going to do some magnet stuff. I'm even later on going to do some more traditional hover things, test those out again. Hey, you really need to pursue ASMR. You know what's funny? I was just Googling. Lately I've been liking to Google some of the stuff to see what people are saying about it. And I found someone who'd been posting my videos on Reddit as unintentional ASMR, and I thought that was pretty funny. So, I don't really... I do have a hypothesis on ASMR that it is actually the eighth dimension. I think ASMR is literally just science, so I think all science is ASMR. But specifically science with an audio component. Um, but anyway, yeah, so I kind of think it's already ASMR. I don't know. Will you add a centrifuge? Probably at some point. Not, I don't know about to the board, I don't know. But ASMR's correlations to the eighth dimension. Oh, yeah, strong ones. I really think so. Daniel, wow. Thank you for the 2 Let 'em cooks. I appreciate you so much. That is so kind. Why is ASMR the eighth dimension? Again, I think that, okay, it's fascinating. So, what is the fourth dimension? Time. What is time? Another way of thinking about time is data, right? So you take the eighth dimension, 2 times the fourth dimension. What is the eighth dimension? My current correlations correlated to fusion, to science itself. And if the sixth dimension, I know this is jumping all over the place. Fourth dimension, data. Sixth dimension, you can think about it as systems. Seventh dimension would be centralizations, which gives you the possibility for cores and CPUs, or just the same concepts that they follow, as well as any sort of nucleus or anything like that. And then, but then also, anyway, and then the eighth dimension, you get into fusion, and then what is the consequence of the seventh dimension centralization? You start getting into intelligence and data. So if sixth dimension is the flow of data, and which is calculations, the eighth dimension, flow of calculations, knowledge. Anyway, that's just how I get to it, very roughly. Decided to think it out for you right now, but yeah. Can you explain the mother in basic physics? What does that mean? You didn't explain anything? Oh, well. I kind of felt like that was true, which is why I stopped. But I'm sure some people got a little bit out of it. But that's just my thinking on how I get to the eighth dimension. And then, so I think the eighth dimension is science. And I think ASMR, sorry, I kind of cut off before I got to that part. I think ASMR is really just, the way you can think about it is 2 times the data flow. It's really just hyper data, right? So when someone uses an object to record data and play it back that is beyond your expectation, you get an instant product value from that, right? So instant satisfaction, instant concept completion. And then that's why it's fun to listen to, because it's valuable. It's equivalent to you learning something or you gaining experience. Does it consume energy from gravity? Yeah, I mean, sort of. Sort of. I think gravity kind of is a catalyst in a lot of ways that we might not naturally think about it. Downforce, for one, is kind of interesting. I think there's a little bit of downforce in play anytime you're moving forward. A little bit to a lot of it. Amazing hovers. So it's not going to fly. I think I'm going to make a sort of flying one. You just be doing stuff. Yeah, bro. I don't know how that could possibly be an insult. I've been noticing for 3 years. What is the end goal? We should have a completed hoverboard model by the end of this year. Man, even thinking about it's kind of crazy. Though, I mean, It will be the second one because I already have one up there, the Slipstream that I do. I think, though, I want to get a little bit more hovery with it this time around. Did you know that ASMR is heavily similar to the eighth dimension because of the utilization of 8D audio? No, I'd never actually even heard that. I'd never heard of that. That sounds fascinating. What's people? Anyway, I'm not gonna get into that because 8D audio is an immersive audio effect designed to create the illusion that sound is physically moving around your head in a 3D space above, behind, and to the sides, and right in front of you. Despite the name, there are not actual 8 dimensions involved. It's a marketing term for binaural panning and spatial audio processing. That's really fascinating. That's really fascinating. And they say, there aren't 8 dimensions really involved. And I think part of that really does, that's part of why I think it's so kind of important to understand a different way of thinking about dimensions. Because I think business truly understands. Because business is about what? It's about the honest communication of, well, not honest, but if you're doing good business, about the honest communication of ideas and concepts, which is really, to me, the absolute peak of science. And they are kind of ahead in different ways, I think. But that's amazing. That's amazing. That is amazing that they call it 8D audio. That's so crazy. I'm telling you guys. This is why I've just become more and more confident over the years. The correlations I've seen are shocking. Shocking. I'm not even saying that I'm right about everything. I'm just saying that the stuff that I have kept about my theories, there's things that I've seen correlations in without expecting to in major science. That's the only reason I keep them around. But, you cracked the code. Tell me. How'd you crack it? Throw the notebook away. What notebook? We were getting really close. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Correlation is fascinating. Oh, yeah. That one's a big one. The 8D stuff. When are we putting this into mass production? Hopefully October. Which, funnily enough, 10th dimension, 10th month. Alright, you guys. I gotta go. Stay blessed. Continue to be awesome. Thank you for joining me for another night of testing. It was quite, it flew by, to be honest. We did a decent, an hour and 18 minutes. We just absolutely flew by. Stay blessed. I'm going to miss you guys 100,000,000%. Hoverheads, stay blessed, stay smart, stay kind. Yeah. Just keep doing good stuff. Be yourself. Be yourself, whatever that means, just be yourself, because there's only one of you, and you are more unique than, even like the sun or anything like that. You're so unique, so unique. So just be yourself. Good night, bros. Hoverheads.